All right, let's talk about something that's a massive undertaking for any business. Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP. Now, this isn't just about rolling out some new software. We're talking about a complete business overhaul. And for companies, especially in a place like the UAE, getting it right depends on having a specific, proven roadmap. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get into why these projects are such a big deal, so high stakes. Then, we'll dig into the all-important planning stage, the foundation. After that, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of actually building the system. And finally, we'll talk about the payoff and how you actually get there. To wrap it all up, we'll look at what a modern roadmap to success really looks like.
So let's kick things off with the big picture, the high-stakes ERP journey. Because honestly, understanding the challenge you're up against is the very first step to conquering it.
If you're leading a business, this question is probably always buzzing in the back of your mind, right? How do we evolve? How do we get better? The path forward can feel incredibly complex, and more often than not, a major ERP project is sitting right at the heart of that transformation.
And this right here, this is the absolute core of it. We have got to stop thinking about this as just an IT project. An ERP implementation fundamentally rewires the DNA of a company, how it operates, from finance and HR all the way through the supply chain. It literally touches every single part of the organization.
But let's be real, this journey is absolutely loaded with traps. Projects go off the rails for some very common reasons. Picking the wrong software to begin with, not having the right experts to guide you, getting completely lost in endless, expensive customizations, and, this one is a huge one, failing to get your own employees to actually use the new system.
So the big question is, how do you manage all that risk? Well, it turns out it's not just a coin flip. The data is pretty clear. By following a structured, step-by-step plan, you can slash the risk of failure by over 50%. That is the incredible power of having a solid roadmap.
Which brings us to the plan itself. This next part is all about laying the foundation. These first 5 phases are where you chart the course for the entire project. And let me tell you, getting these right is completely non-negotiable.
It all starts with 3 foundational moves. First up is a pre-evaluation, which is basically asking, is an ERP even what we need right now? Then comes package evaluation, where you're comparing different systems, like SAP or Odoo, against what you actually need them to do. And finally, you lock in the project plan, which defines your scope, your budget, and your timeline. Everything else is built on top of this.
But here's where things get really interesting in the modern era. Instead of just relying on endless manual research and slick vendor demos, we now have AI tools that can help with the selection process, making it way more data-driven and a whole lot faster.
And the impact here is staggering. By using AI to crunch your business needs and filter through tons of different systems, companies are literally cutting their selection time by 60 to 70%. That is a massive win before the real work is even started.
Okay, still in that foundation phase, we've got 2 more absolutely critical steps. Gap analysis is where you figure out exactly what the new ERP system can't do for your business straight out of the box. Then, business process reengineering, or BPR, helps you redesign your internal workflows to match the software's best practices, so you're not just digitizing old, clunky habits. So a typical gap analysis will show you something like this. A well-chosen ERP usually covers about 80 to 85% of what you need. The real secret sauce of a successful project is how you strategically and smartly handle that last 15 to 20%.
Okay, so the foundation is set, the blueprints are ready, now it's time for the execution phase. This is where the plan becomes reality and you actually start to build this thing.
And this phase is all about action. You're customizing and configuring the system to close those gaps we just talked about. You're training your core project team so they become the internal experts. Then comes testing, and more testing to make sure everything works perfectly. And then, the big moment, go live, when you flip the switch. This is where having someone who knows the local rules, especially in a place like the UAE, is a total game changer. Veteran consultants are essential. They get the details of local compliance, things like VAT, the wage protection system, and economic substance regulations, making sure your new system isn't just working, but is 100% compliant from day one.
So you've hit go live, and everyone's celebrating, right? Well, hold on. It might feel like the finish line, but it's really not. These final 2 phases are where you actually get the payoff and see the full value from this massive investment.
Look, this system can be live, but if nobody's using it properly, what's the point?
That's why Phase 10, end-user training, is so incredibly important. And that's followed by Phase 11, which is all about ongoing support and optimization. The work is never really done. You're always looking for ways to make things run even better. And this is exactly why those final steps matter so much. With a post-go-live strategy, you get continuous improvement. You can actually measure your return on investment. Without one, you're often looking at weak adoption, processes that never change, and a system that just doesn't deliver. I mean, the difference is literally night and day. All right, let's pull all these threads together and look at what a truly modern roadmap for success actually looks like. Many people call this the hybrid approach. You know, this quote from Professionals Lobby just nails the whole mindset we've been talking about. It's a strategic transformation. When you start treating it that way, your entire approach to the project just gets better. So what is this modern hybrid model? Well, think of it as standing on three key pillars. First, you've got AI intelligence for faster, smarter, data-backed decisions. Second, you have the irreplaceable human expertise of veteran consultants who know the local landscape inside and out. And third, you have independent advisory, which makes sure every single decision is in your best interest, not a software vendor's.
Look, there's no doubt an ERP journey is complex, but it absolutely does not have to be a roll of the dice. By understanding the risks, by following a structured roadmap, and by blending the best of AI with seasoned human oversight, you can turn this from something that keeps you up at night into a powerful source of competitive advantage. So the only real question left is, what transformation are you ready to unlock?
Professionals Lobby, grow, connect, succeed.